For 100 years, women and their families in New Britain and throughout the central Connecticut region have depended upon the YWCA to continue its mission to break the cycle of poverty and nurture a community of caring. We believe our first capital campaign in 20 years will provide the support to further this vision for another 100 years. The Board of Directors and Trustees of your YWCA are committing to these capital campaign goals. 1. An expansion of our comprehensive child care program. 2. Creating a destination place for women and their families focused on expanding programming and economic empowerment. 3. Making the YWCA a social and economic presence on Franklin Square. And 4. Enhancing the promise we make to our future by increasing the endowment.
It's time for this organization to do a campaign like this. It's actually past time. It's always touched me since I've known about this organization, the number of volunteers that we rely on and the number of volunteers that stay with us for many, many years, and how long they stay involved and stay committed to this organization. And it's because they really truly believe in what we're doing, and they really truly see the impact that we have and the lives that we touch. Our board of directors, our board of trustees, our finance committee members, all of our SACS volunteers, that's who I really gain my strength from, in seeing them and seeing their commitment, because they have no financial gain in being involved here. They can't. And so for them, it's truly from the heart.
I will tell you that a community like New Britain's only thrives because of its volunteer base. And what's amazing to me is organizations like the YWCA continue to bring people from outside of our community here to assist with everything that they do. And that's always been a remarkable thing about this community, is it continues to attract the people that used to live here from many, many towns surrounding us.
I love our mission statement, eliminating racism and empowering women, but I think it's too limited. When we say, I'll take the second part of it, empowering women, what we're really doing here is empowering women, their families, the community at large. It's a big mission that we serve, and I'm proud of it.
I think that through the YW, one of the best things that it does for young women, particularly, is to show them that their possibilities are endless.
The fact is that the majority of people that live in poverty are single mothers and their children. And we know some of those root causes of poverty. We know access to affordable, high-quality child care is one of them. We know violence against women is one of them. We know financial literacy or illiteracy is another one. So what we do at the YWCA is we directly address those root causes of poverty with our programs. When the original building here was purchased, it faced Franklin Square. And at that time, the YW was founded as a residence. And so the founding mothers had the building lifted up and turned around to face Glen Street because it was a more residential area. And now we're really coming full circle on our 100th anniversary here and wanting to turn the building back around to Franklin Square. The Pamela Hill Child Care Building was originally built for less than 100 children. We now have 280 in this facility every single day. And so the traffic and the school buses, the way they converge on the street just wasn't designed for that. It's really a residential street.
But with the renovations, that problem will be solved. And I think the parents will definitely benefit from that and be happy with that. My husband was transferred to Connecticut as far as the job goes, and the first place we came, at that time we had a 10-month-old son who's now 7, and the first place we looked for as far as daycare was the YW. The teachers are the essence of what we do, and if you don't have good teachers, you're not going to have a good program. I didn't want to go anywhere else when it came to activities, and my hope is that with the renovations, that there'll be more activities and more activities for me to sign my children up for.
You know, $1 invested in an organization like this will have immediate impact on a child's life. And I think people can see that directly, and the benefit is easily shown through the programs and the people that are participating here at the YWCA.
Important thing we've done for the region is taking on this huge project for the sexual assault crisis services.
A lot of times we find that women do not want to go to a specific building that's labeled as a sexual assault crisis service or a domestic violence service, because then everyone, if anyone sees them, they'll know what they're going there for. But to come to someplace like a YWCA is much more comfortable, and they're much more likely to seek the care that they need.
Anyone who's a victim of such a violent crime has a right to be able to have a safe place to go. And the fact that we are that mainstay for anyone who's a survivor, it's essential to their healing, to being able to get them through it. It's huge. Past survivors that have come forward and said, you know, without SACS, I don't know where I would be. I don't know if I would have committed suicide that night. I don't know if I would have been able to get a job or even walk out my front door.
We serve 43 towns in the state of Connecticut. We are the largest provider of sexual assault crisis service in the state of Connecticut, as well as preventive education in those 43 towns as well. So we go out and we talk with young people, young men and young women, about violence prevention. But we really are making an impact in decreasing that, or educating people about violence and how to stop it, and giving them real tools that they can use to make a difference.
So many times the world, the community at large, looks at people who use our services as victims. Oh, those poor people, a single mom with these children, a family who's lost a job, kids who have learning problems or don't have early education that will help them to be successful in school once they go. We need to get rid of that notion entirely, because these people are not victims. They have had terrible circumstances come their way, but they all have the potential, with support and resources that we can provide, to make the most of their lives, to become healthier, to become more financially stable, to become better, more effective parents.
The YWCA created Strive, which is an after-school program just for middle school girls. And in that program, we really address the issues that girls are facing in middle school.
Strive program is a program that the children, because in school age we serve up to grade 5, some of the children that we can no longer service can then become part of the Strive program.
The exciting is because we get to go on a whole bunch of fun field trips and everything, and we get to meet new people from other schools. Fun educational. Because it's fun, and at the same time they teach you stuff, and they teach about different types of stuff, like how to handle situations, bad situations, and like how to make responsible decisions.
The empowerment programs are very, very important. That's the key, because maybe a lot of the children that come through here are a product of maybe broken homes, and or older children who grow up are looking for someplace to belong, someplace safe to belong to, and somewhere nurturing where they can learn how to be a woman. And the programs here currently are excellent, but I positively know that once the renovation is over and done with, that more girls will come in, a bigger safe haven, more learning, more education, more girls in this city need that. And that's definitely well needed, and the YW will be able to provide that on a larger scale.
You know, an organization that's been around as long as this one has to make sure that we're careful with the money so that it will be there for the future as we need it.
The operations can bring in the funds to operate the programs, but rarely can they help fix a leak in the roof, a problem with the electrical system, or any of the rest of that. You have to have an endowment to do that.
If we're not here, and I think about this all the time, if we're not here, who is going to take the place and do the things that we do? There's no one else in this community that does that. There's no one else that does child care in the numbers that we do. There's no one else that does sexual assault crisis service. There's no one else that does these financial literacy programs the way that we do them, or after-school programs just for girls. There's not another place that young girls or young women can go for the kinds of things that we provide for them.
I think in these times, times of economic crisis, the services of this association are more vital than ever.
Both my husband and I had talked about this a long time ago, and when I first started to volunteer, about making financial contribution to the YW. And we are members of the 1910 Society, which means that we have the YW provided for in our estate planning, and we give annually. And to give to this campaign simply provides me an opportunity to participate in the most meaningful way of making sure that this campaign is successful, and of course that is to make this YW successful going forward. So to me, it's the logical way to demonstrate the belief in the organization.
The return on investment is when you walk in and you see smiling faces and people taking advantages of the services that, if it were not for the generosity of others, might not be able to receive such service. You walk by, you know, this organization or into this building, and you can't help but feel a return on investment by just looking around. And most certainly this project, you'll be able to drive by and see a beautiful new face to the building on a much more prominent road in the city than you do now.
There's a huge spin-off to spending $10 million, or actually $12 million in a community, not just with construction jobs, which are badly needed. These are very, very high-paying jobs, but there's a whole lot of additional monies that come with that $12 million. And so you could probably say that that $12 million has another factor of at least 50% on top of that for a local community.
I think that the YW has the capacity and the potential to empower women, children, and families in ways that we haven't even conceived of yet.
One of the things that we know at the YW is that we could never do this alone. We are so fortunate to have the support of this community, both the individuals, the businesses, the foundations, and it's really, that's what allows us to be able to continue to carry out our mission and do what we need to do to meet the needs of the people in this community.
When we help one family, we're helping the entire community.
And it's so important for people to understand what that generosity and that philanthropy really means to us, and to help us to keep that promise that was made by past generations and our current volunteers and supporters, because we can't do it just by ourselves.
I'm Donna Lasher, and I'm keeping the promise.
I'm Art Shaler Jr., and I'm keeping the promise.
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 We're keeping the promise.
I'm keeping the promise.
I'm keeping the promise.
Mantengo mi promesa.
These are the reasons we're keeping our promise.
I'm keeping the promise.
Dotrzymujemy obietnicy.
I'm Karen Richardson, and I'm keeping the promise.
I'm Carol Verostek, and I'm keeping the promise.
I'm Tim Stewart, and I'm keeping the promise.
I'm keeping the promise.
Will you keep the promise?